Hello, Jace. What's up, guys? Alex here. I'm in my garden. It's lockdown, but things are starting to ease up a lot more in the UK. Mid-July 2020. I'm sitting here, and what you can see on my head is my attempt at cutting my own hair. I got myself a new pair of clippers, and got to say I'm pretty pleased with that. It's a little bit clumpy in parts, but could have been worse. Did a bit of a fade and all that. Quite pro. So quite proud of that one. Wanted to talk today about resistance, that feeling that comes up that tends to sabotage our attempts at creating something new and bringing something new to the world, whether it be a book or a course or a piece of art or a new presentation you're giving or an online class, whatever the heck it is. Resistance often follows what feels like creative risk. I was speaking to a friend recently about his new course, and he brought up the idea that he was feeling a lot of resistance in bringing it out there and persuading the world and the market and the audience that it was something worth using and paying for. And doing the market research was particularly difficult because it meant going out to speaking to potential clients and potential buyers of the course, and that created resistance in him. He didn't want to, he felt sort of held back from speaking directly to the market and asking them what they thought of the course and asking them what kinds of things they needed help with. This kind of stuff comes up a lot for me when I'm doing articles or creating new videos or releasing new books. Resistance gets in the way of it, and it doesn't only just come once, it comes several times potentially. And the reason for that is it tends to be because we are exposing ourselves, our egos to the world. And what our personal mind is wanting to do is to maintain a perfect image of who we are to the world. And there is a risk when we start bringing creative projects and we start showing up and contributing and sharing ourselves to the rest of the planet. There's the risk that our perfect image could be ridiculed. It could be shown up for what it really is, i.e. something that's capable of making mistakes. And we worry in the form of resistance. We worry when our egos are at risk of being shown up as not perfect, as less than perfect. So whenever there's a risk of making a mistake, of being criticized, of maybe being rejected, maybe our writing, we're worried that our books are going to be rejected, we feel this resistance to doing the stuff and to actually getting a project started or even a project continued or finished or wrapped up. And resistance can come in the form of laziness. It can be about procrastinating a lot. It can be that we feel fear, we feel anxiety, we feel stress, we feel frustration. All kinds of emotional manifestations come about because of this resistance. Now, if you haven't read the work of Steven Pressfield, I recommend you do. He talks a lot about resistance in his books, particularly about writing and the resistance writers feel when they sit down to write. Every excuse in the book tends to come out when we're doing something that we consider important. One of his quotes was, "The more important something is to your soul's evolution, the more resistance you're going to have to it. The more important something is to our soul, the more important something is to our value system, the thing that we want to do the most, the thing that we really want to make happen, the thing that we really want to make sure we get right is usually the thing that creates the most resistance. The thing that is going to really make us grow and expand as people are the things that tend to attract the most resistance." So that alone is really helpful for anyone who's experiencing resistance, is to know that the things that tend to be important and worth doing, the things that we should be doing with our lives, whether it's writing that dream novel, starting that business, running that program that you wanted to start, creating that painting, those things, the things that matter to you the most, tend to create the most resistance, the most excuses, the most willingness in you to turn the other way and not do it, because it risks getting it wrong. We don't want to get the things that matter the most to us wrong. We don't want to fail at the things that hold the most meaning for us. And so see that as an opportunity. If you feel resistance for something, if you feel fear around something, it's usually an indication that it's worth doing. And that alone is powerful in itself. That alone can help you be more motivated, rather than see it as an indication to turn away and to give up. This is why so many people give up. They do something that they think is cool and is exciting, maybe it's their dream book, but they feel resistance and they keep feeling resistance and they give up because they think that this isn't, they're not cut out for it, or there's something wrong with them, or they're too stupid to do it, whatever it is. Rather than going the other way and turning away from what you should be doing, see the resistance as an indication of what you are doing right, that you are moving in the right direction. And that's going to create peace and harmony just in itself. This understanding that the resistance is coming up for a good reason. It's coming up because your ego is trying to sabotage you. And just by being aware of that, by being the third party looking in at that dynamic, is going to help you actually take action anyway. Because when you realize that the only thing getting in the way is your own thinking, the thought that says, I'm not cut out for this, the thought that says, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. It's a thought that arises because the thing is important to you. Then you're free. Then you are free to take action, regardless of what feelings are coming up. So it kind of ties in. So that quote was really helpful for me. The thing that is most important to your soul's evolution, the work that really matters, tends to be the thing that creates resistance. Be aware of that. Know that it's actually a good thing rather than a bad thing. And when you can see that it's your personal mind, your ego, trying to sabotage you, and it sabotages you in the form of thoughts. We tend to, if you've noticed this, when you're stepping into the fray, when you're stepping into your edge and you're doing something that you're scared about doing, that's when your thoughts start going crazy, right? And that's your ego. That's your the personal layer of thoughts that are coming up. That it's personal thinking. It's thoughts that are trying to protect your image, of which there is none. We all think we have this identity, we have an image that needs to be protected. That's all nonsense. All we have is our kind of energy underneath it all, underneath this facade. And if you're getting lots of ruminative thoughts, lots of cyclical thoughts coming up as a result of moving in the direction of your fear, that's you trying to sabotage yourself. And you will find ways to not experience any of that negative emotion again, because as I've said in many videos, negative thoughts, cyclical thoughts that aren't helpful will lead to negative feelings. There is a direct link between thought and sensation, thought and feeling, thought and behavior. So when we have a negative thought that comes out because of this sabotage, we procrastinate. We feel bad, and so we do something to get us away from that feeling. We try to escape. And so that's another step in the right direction, is understanding that our thoughts tend to elevate and tend to start cycling and tend to try and sabotage us when we're moving in the right direction. And when we realize it's only a thought that's getting in the way, we have more power, because when we realize it's a thought, we're able to take action, because a thought can't kill us. And that's really all there is to it. It's ultimately about the realization. It's about understanding how our minds work. It's about understanding how we can be our own worst enemies, but it doesn't have to be seen as such a dramatic thing. It's not that you are a terrible person and unable to do what it is you're trying to do. If you've set your mind on something and it sounds exciting, that's enough to know that you can do it, whatever it is. If you have a recurring image or a recurring dream about writing a fiction book, that to me is enough now. It doesn't mean that there's a high likelihood that you will fail. It just means that you, by thinking of this idea a lot, it means that you need to do it. It means that you can do it, and that's all you need to know. So realize that thoughts can get in the way of particularly things that are important to you and worth doing. And when you realize it's a thought, then you're free, because a thought can be let go of. You don't need to entertain a thought. You don't need to believe in those thoughts that are coming up, because it's just your ego throwing little spikes on the ground to derail you. When a speeding criminal is trying to get away, the police throw little spikes on the ground to derail that criminal, to stop him. And that's what your ego is trying to do for you. It's trying to cut off your freedom. And luckily we don't have to deal with real metal spikes. We've got thoughts that we can let go of. We have thoughts that are there that can float around like little flies, and we don't need to acknowledge them. We can even say, well, thanks for showing up, I appreciate it, but I'm just going to get on anyway. I'm going to just go for it. And so let action lead the way. Let your actions lead the way. Forget about the thinking. Let the thoughts go as they might, and start writing anyway. Start scribbling anyway. Let your actions show you where you're going. You have to act to kind of show yourself in a way. Show your ego. Show your mind that you're not being driven by the mind. You're driven by action, by movement. So when in doubt, do something. Do the next step in movement. So if you want to write a book and you just can't do it, prove to yourself that you are on the track of writing this book by taking action, by scribbling anything that comes to mind down on paper. That's the first step. Once you've done that, there's a little bit of momentum in place, and then you can move on to the next step, which is actually writing fully formed sentences. If you are worried about approaching people to sell them something, write them an email first. Do something in motion, do something in activity, and you will start to find that that if you continue taking those actions, you'll start to accumulate momentum. And it's movement and it's momentum that is going to get you to where you want to go, not thoughts. Hopefully that had something interesting for you wrapped up in that quite long discussion on resistance. If you feel resistant, know that it's normal, know that it's human, know that it means that you're doing the right thing, and take note of what your thoughts are trying to tell you, but then realize that you're free of them. You can let go of them and you can take action anyway. Alex signing out with new haircut. Do leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. What kinds of things do you want to hear me talk more about? And it's a pleasure to be back. It's a pleasure to be on your screen. Do subscribe if you enjoyed this. Do like this video if you liked it. Alex signing out. Peace out.